Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021. And in today's video, we're going to be doing something that I haven't done for quite a long time, and that is to go for a world record. And I did this on previous games on 2020, 2019, and that was a series that people enjoyed very much. So I thought I'd decide to bring it back here. So please, if you do enjoy this, please give the video a like, comment what track you would like me to focus on next. And also the other reason why I wanted to do this is, now my latest video when I did a race against esport drivers, the biggest difference between them and myself is mainly the qualifying pace. That's where I feel I need to gain another 2 to 3 temps, and time trial has its pros and cons, but I think one of the good things about it is that it teaches you to push 100% to the limit, because at the end of the day, that's what you need to do in order to be the fastest over one lap. And usually that's something I don't focus on. I try and focus on as we get our first time invalidation, which I swear I never try and do that on purpose for the very first lap. But quite often I focus much more on the race, being as consistent as possible and having a car that's going to be comfortable to drive in the race. So we decided to jump into here, Melbourne, since we have it in F1 this weekend, and obviously this is the older track layout because it doesn't exist in the official Formula 1 game yet. And we are going to go on this journey to see how fast we can actually go over a lap and where can we get to in this time trial, which over 57,000 people have done. It's always one of the most popular time trials to do. And yeah, I just wanted to see what I could do. A 20.6 was my previous best, which I did quite a while ago. And as always, to get another track invalidation, we are going to start this video with the stock setup. So there is absolutely no setup loaded in. The only thing I've changed is the front brake bias and the differential, which you can do in game itself. And the reason why I like to start with the stock setup is really to try and perfect my driving as much as possible and really get into the rhythm of the track before I start putting in my own car setup. And this is something I encourage to a lot of people who I have one-to-one coaching sessions with. It's really try to look to perfect their own driving first before changing absolutely everything on the setup. Really try and get into good rhythm of the track before you start playing around with those sorts of things. And so far here, we're gonna keep on going. You will see many laps in this video, so if you don't enjoy watching an endless amount of laps, then this probably isn't the video for you. As we come across the line, it's a 22.0. So as you skip on again, I want to see how fast I can go without a cert first. And you will see throughout this, the whole process I like to go through is that even if I make a mistake, I just keep on going as well, because I think it's really important to build consistency and repetition. If you just restarted every time you invalidated turn 1 or in the middle sector and never did sector 3, then by the time you perfected the first 2 sectors, then you're rusty at sector 3. So it's all about just trying to retrain your muscle memory, always trying to learn from the previous lap on where you need to adjust your effort and forces into particular corners. And I think the best way to do that is to continuously go around that cycle. And that's when I do league races quite often. In the qualifying, I don't even turn around to go back to the pits. I just pretend it's like the real thing, and might be a little bit more time consuming, but at the end of the day, I think it really does drilling in a lot more patience and consistency in your driving, which I've seen many people who are very, very fast at a time trial reset all the time, and yeah, they might do one good lap out of 100, but the other laps are not particularly consistent, as we do a 21.1 with no setup, which I was very satisfied with. As you can see, happy DRS flapping there. And yeah, we're going to go back to the garage now, and this is where we are going to load in the setup. So as always, when I'm trying to attempt a world record, I'll just go for pure pace. Always like to start with the stock setup, go as fast as possible. And the last time I did this was in the Haas on the 6th of February, because I had a league race there. And we'll go download the world record setup. Also to note, I'm actually using the equal car rather than the realistic car. And the realistic Red Bull seems to be a little bit faster than the equal ones, from my experience and other people's as well. So that's something just to note. So here we go. We're going to be using a setup, and let's see what we can do. And the lap I did without the setup was pretty good, but it's going to take me some time to really get dialed into this track. And the whole purpose of this video and this series as well is to, again, really try and show a true perspective of what it's like for a player trying to get to a good speed. Because I know so many players who are particularly new or are trying to step up their level, looking at the leaderboards, and it could be very intimidating and demotivating to see some of these times, and they just ask themselves, what the hell do I have to do to get there? And I just want to show you that it doesn't happen in one lap, unless you're Jarno Opmeer or Frederick Rasmussen. Probably could then, but for the normal human beings out there, normally there's a bit of a process and a bit of a journey to go on. So I really hope this gives you a bit more of an insight and perspective into what it takes. And don't be afraid that you don't do it straight away. And it's something that takes time. So the first lap we did was a 21.0. And yeah, don't want to be driving in the middle of that curb there. So we're going to learn a lot of things along the way as well. And yeah, you'd expect to go instantly faster when you're going from a stock setup to a setup, but a proper setup is often a lot more oversteery. The cars are a lot more on the edge, and again, a lot of people try setups and very quick to critique it, saying that it's completely undrivable. As you can see there, we almost lost it. But quite often, sometimes the faster setups are often the hardest to control, because they allow you to carry the most speed into the corners with the most grip, but you have to be as smooth as you possibly can. And if you don't commit with the right amount of speed into the corner or right amount of input from the steering wheel or your pedals, then that's when you will be severely punished. So that's why, again, I always encourage people to try and perfect their own driving first. Are you driving as smooth as you possibly can be? Are you being as aggressive as you can be into the corners? Are you maximizing it? Then you can then start to tweak the setup once you feel you have ticked all those boxes. But you can say we actually made a mistake in validation, but we still continued, and it was a 20.5. So that would have been an improvement on what I did before. And yeah, once again, Tail 1 is a very difficult corner. But coming through into here, we're about a tenth and a half up on our tie, but then we get an invalidation, which we will just continue this lap. So next lap, valid so far, and you can see again we're about half a tenth up on my personal best that I did a while ago. Coming through into here, managing to navigate this quite nicely this time. Try and stay nice and tight coming into a super fast chicane. And yeah, that was a bit too early. And yeah, we've lost all the time on the exits. But now we are going into this once again, and this time we're over a tenth and a half up, so this was definitely a much better lap, and on the exit here we're almost 2 tenths up. So again, try not to restart the laps, just to really build in that muscle memory, so even if I make a mistake, I still want to continue. You can see we've invalidated this lap, but we're just going to continue once again, because I just still want to really get into the rhythm of the track. And this is my number one advice, is don't restart. Even if you make a big mistake, it's really important to start developing that muscle memory for that consistency. And you can see, coming off the exit of this last corner, this would have been a 20.1, which the world record I think is a 19.8 in the realistic car. So we're going to go aboard here now, and let's see if we can do our first proper clean lap, which is not invalidated. So going through into here, going down to 4th gear, up into this, and we've actually gained almost a 10th on the exit. 100-meter board, braking nice and deep into the corner, using the curb on the inside, trying to use the track as much as possible and getting some really good speed on the exit. Complete flat out, but missing this curb on the inside. Up into this corner as the wheel is straight, that is your braking turning point. Hooking the curbs on the inside and on the exit, and we are about half a tenth up on this lap. Just as you go past the 100-meter board, so miss this curb on the inside, but use the curb on the exit. Slingshot yourself out into this middle sector, and now here, once you pass the black box, that's your turning in point. You have to be super committed through here, and we have finally managed to do a pretty reasonable lap without an invalidation so far. Going down into 4th gear, using all of the track on the exit as you pass the black box. That is your turning in point, almost losing the car. Try and carry as much apex speed as possible. Go to around about middle of the track, nice and tight through this last corner, and on the exit, not quite 5 tenths like we did before, but coming across the line, what's this going to be? It's a 20.2. So that's our first proper lap, but we're just going to continue once again, because quite often that you'll find, especially in a time trial or when you're just improving yourself, is that once you hit this lap time, it's kind of like a more of a mental plateau that you break through, because now you've convinced yourself that you can actually do the lap time. And also muscle memory wise, which is something I always keep banging on about, you know what you actually have to do with your inputs in order to get a lap time yourself, and you can see immediately we're over 1/10 up on this lap, and we've invalidated this, but again, we're still going to continue it. Unless you completely spin out, I would always advise you to keep going, no matter how frustrating and time consuming it is. In the long run, I think it will make you a more consistent driver overall. And you can see we've lost a bit of time going through into this last sector or section of the track, just for the black box, but gaining a bit of time. So when I'm doing these laps all the time, I'm constantly learning from every single corner. I'm constantly reminded for the next lap what I need to do. Do I need to go a bit faster? Do I need to go a bit slower through here? And that's again the reason why I just keep on doing lap after lap. So we're going to have another crack at this. So going into this turn 1 and choosing 5th gear this time and getting a pretty good exit. So half a tenth up. So always making these small adjustments for each corner, adding a little bit more aggression or a little bit more discipline. And I'm just learning all the time, lap after lap, what I need to do. And you can see this first sector, there's a very good first sector so far, so well over a tenth up, getting a great exit going through into that sequence of corners. Now going to here again, what gear do we go down to? We go down to 3rd, but missing a little bit of time. And you can see now I've clocked in my mind that that is a corner that I've lost a lot of time. I lost almost a full tenth going through into there. So going through into the chicane, doing this not amazing at all, but from the previous lap we did, I know there's time to find in this last sector as well. So really go try and maximize it, about half a tenth down at this stage, but going absolutely full commitment into here. So using all the apex speed, trying to stay a bit tighter this time into the last corner. Does that pay dividends? And the answer is yes. So we are going to improve on this up to another 20.2. But I know in the middle sector and last sector, especially for the chicane, that there is a lot more time to find. And that is a very comforting thing to know, that there is a lot of time to find in certain corners. So as long as I can match what I did previously, I know at certain points of this track that I should be comfortably gaining that time back once again. But as it went on, and what you'll usually find is that when you've been doing lap after lap for quite a bit of time, it's really hard to get out of the driving habits that you're in. And that's why I always recommend to people to never spend longer than an hour on a time trial. Sometimes to step away, go for a break for a day, or maybe a few hours, because then you can kind of reset your muscle memory. Because if you're just doing something over and over for hours and hours straight, it's very hard to break out of the driving habits that you are currently in. So once I started hitting that stage, that's when I will start to make a few tweaks to the setup itself. And you can see we've actually put on 10-10 wing, making the rear anti-roll bar a little bit softer, so I got more response from the front end of the car. But during the corner, the car should actually become a bit more stable, not as loose and oversteered as it was. And you can just see instantly straight away it's had a significant impact. We've actually done our PB almost first sector, and you can see enabling myself to get on the power much earlier, which is why, again, especially with my coaching sessions, I like to really go through the setups with people, because if you can start to understand how each component works, and when you're driving, if you get an understeer or oversteer in a particular corner, you can then make a change that is going to suit you. And you can see, as we have managed to do that well this time, we have gained that 10th and a half back that we did lose on the previous lap. So going through into this last sector, again, the setup is working very nicely at this stage, and trying to still do the same commitment. So I knew I lost a bit of time going through into here as well. Going through this last corner, how do we do this time? And yes, we are gaining time on this exit. So we're going to be comfortably in the one. What's this going to be? It's a 20.066. And now we're up to P11 on the leaderboard. And at this stage, we had done about 40 minutes of the time trial. And you'll be able to see again, P11, P3 in the equal car settings, and you can see people at the top were using the realistic car settings. So, but I wasn't done that. Wanted to have one last crack at it itself. So now this is going to be the fastest lap that I did. So coming across the line, let's talk through this lap itself. So we just did another 20.0 again. So just after the back box, that is our turning in point, and using all of the track very nicely on this occasion. So almost dead level of my personal best so far. Braking just after the 100-meter ball, so being super aggressive on the brakes. Try to use all of the track, carry as much speed as possible, and we actually have lost out a bit going through into this first sector. So it's looking good until the end of it, so about 300ths down. But then going through here, we've actually lost a little bit more time as well, so 400ths down. Now going to this middle sector, what do we do going through here? Keeping it in 4th gear this time, and you can see we've almost gained all of the time back in that one corner alone. Now going up into the super fast chicane, what do we do through into here? Do we go flat out through here? Yes, we do, and gaining all the time back on the exit as well. Now just after the 100-meter ball, going from 8th gear down to 4th gear, clipping the inside, using the curb on the outside. After the black box, then being super committed, coming through into here just before the black box. That is your turning in point, and taking all the apex speed through here, and really tight for this last corner. Short shooting up into 5th gear to maximize the traction, and going across the line, it's going to be a 20.032. So not quite into the 19s, but 9th place on the leaderboard. And honestly, I was pretty satisfied with that. I haven't done a time trial for quite a while, and I really did this to really work on my own qualifying pace even more. If I can gain the extra 2 to 3 temps, learning to push to 100% a lot more, I think that's just going to improve my overall driving much more. But also, I really hope you enjoyed this little journey I did. I'll be doing this for most tracks, or if not all tracks, so please let me know which one you like next. Hopefully you've learned something and it's giving you a bit more of a realistic insider perspective, because again, I can promise you, people who are very fast usually go through many stages of progression when they're attempting to set a very fast lap time itself. So hopefully this is giving you a bit of motivation and insight. Thank you so much for the support on the videos, and I'll be catching you very soon. Peace.